Japanese teenager Seiichi Hiragi endures a difficult life in high school due to his unattractive appearance, until suddenly his entire class receives a message by a mysterious entity, who teleports Seiichi and his classmates to another world. Seiichi is separated from his classmates and emerges in a forest, where he is forced to learn how to survive on his own for months, and comes across mysterious fruits that enhance his body and change his appearance. After gaining enough experience in combat, hunting and use of magic, Seiichi is attacked by Asaria, a gorilla-like female monster who has fallen in love with him after witnessing his strength in battle, and he survives, convincing her to take him as a mate. Seiichi grows increasingly uncomfortable around Saria and attempts to escape by entering a cave she had previously warned him about, only to be attacked by the cave's sole inhabitant, the Dark Lord Xenos, and Saria saves him but is left grievously wounded. Enraged, Seiichi kills Xenos in battle, inadvertently releasing him from his curse of undeath. He and Saria undergo their final evolutions, with Seiichi obtaining more magical power and Saria becoming human. They also learn the tragic history of Xenos and receive a visit from Mr. Sheep, the administrator of the dungeon, who gifts them traveling funds and a kit that could help them harvest more fruits of evolution. After leaving the forest, Seiichi and Saria decide to travel together. Meanwhile, his classmates have been declared heroes by the king and have started training. However, some of the students aren't happy with the training sessions and want to see actual combat, much to the displeasure of Karen Kanazuki, one of the few people in the class who genuinely cared for Seiichi. The two reach Tilburg, royal capital of Vimberg, hoping to join the local adventurers guild and gain official IDs. Although Seiichi is unnerved by the members' fetishes, he still gains membership for himself and Saria, but to become official, they must undertake minor jobs supervised by a veteran guildmate, Artoria Grem. While Saria looks after some children in a church, Seiichi is tasked with helping with the demolition of a local building and walking a noblewoman's dog. With their tasks completed, Seiichi and Saria are officially welcomed into the guild. They continue their tests under Artoria's supervision, until Seiichi comes across a trio of demons setting up teleportation portals leading to the dungeon inhabited by the Black Dragon God. The next day, as Seiichi and Saria begin their final test, they, alongside Artoria, are teleported into the dungeon, which contains a massive labyrinth. Artoria steps on a stone that causes a huge wall that separates her from Seiichi and Saria, forcing her to find a way to meet up with them. She reaches the lowest part of the dungeon, where she faces off against the Black Dragon, who almost kills her until the two arrive just in time to save her. Seiichi slays the dragon and acquires the power of spatial magic, which he uses to take his friends back to the guild, and Artoria is shocked that Seiichi would risk his life to save her and feels guilty for putting him in danger. She tells him the story of how she became known as the Calamity, as she was born with 2 million points of bad luck, causing her to bring misfortune to everyone she came across. Fortunately, Seiichi gives her a special ring he found back at the dungeon, and although the ring nullifies her curse, Artoria thinks Seiichi just proposed to her, and she runs away in embarrassment. Meanwhile, news of the Black Dragon death reached the remaining leaders of the Demon Lord's army, causing them to worry that someone is trying to restart the war between humans and demons. Following the advice of Gussel and Eris, Seiichi goes to the Royal Library of Tilburg, hoping to find information about his fellow classmates, and when that fails, he attempts to read books about magic and accidentally increases his power. He later goes to a nearby cafe for a meal and starts a conversation with the manager Nord and a commoner known simply as Rans. He admits he feels guilty that he just put Artoria in an uncomfortable position, so Nord and Rans advise him to be honest and set things right with her. Meanwhile, the latter gets advised by her friend Adriana to admit her feelings for Seiichi, and upon meeting yet again, Artoria admits she is in love with him, even though he is already in love with Saria, who agrees to share Seiichi with her, a decision met with unanimous approval from their friends. Seiichi then becomes an A-rank adventurer and, on the advice of Gussel, decides to buy a horse and finds a temperamental female donkey named Lillian and agrees to buy her. He then finds a young artist named May, who is having a discussion with her friend Clay about entering the Royal Art Competition, celebrated a month after the royal race. May feels unsure whether she should enter the tournament, so Seiichi proposes a deal. If he wins at the royal race, May will enter the art competition. She agrees, but on the day of the competition, Lillian feels sick for not eating a proper breakfast before her ace. But fortunately, Seiichi feeds her some of his fruits of evolution, allowing her to win first place, but soon after the race, Lolian evolves into a human form, thanks to the fruits. As the winner of the royal race, Seiichi is taken to Arhel, the royal castle of Vimberg, where he meets Louise Balls, captain of Wimberg's Valkyries. She challenges Seiichi to a training match to test his skills, and he wins the match, causing her to declare herself to be his apprentice. Suddenly, the king of Vimberg is attacked by an assassin, and the Valkyries move in to intercept her until Seiichi uses his magic to discover that the assassin is only a child. Meanwhile, his classmates are transferred to Barbador Magical Academy and the Demon Nation's governing council, led by Lucia, the Demon Lord's daughter, who agreed to negotiate for peace with Vimberg, much to the frustration of her advisor Kreis, who is pushing for war against the humans. Seiichi intercepts the assassin at the castle's training grounds and easily captures her, identifying the assassin as Auriga Calmiria, and leaves her to be interrogated by the Valkyries. However, the king is still left in critical condition due to Auriga's curse, and Seiichi is only able to save his life by creating his own healing spell. He also discovers the king to be Ranz, the man who advised him earlier on how to solve his romantic problems. As a reward, Ranz allows Seiichi to use the castle to practice his fighting and magic skills. On the other side, Zakia, the old soldier who mentored Seiichi's classmates in combat, questions the Kaiser Emperor's decision to send them to Barbador Magical Academy, and is horrified to learn that Helio, a mage working for the Emperor, placed bracelets on the students to prevent them from becoming a threat to the kingdom. Suddenly, an assassin attempts to kill the king, forcing Zakia to pursue him. Seiichi and Lise watch the interrogation of Oliga at the hands of Lorna, one of Louise's Valkyries. But they stop the interrogation when they discover that Oliga is wearing a slave collar that forces her to obey the orders of the Kaiser Empire, and Seiichi is able to release her by creating his own spell. Louise is forced to investigate the activity of monsters near the borders of Vimberg, but asks Seiichi to look after Ranz in her absence. Meanwhile, Zakia confronts the man who tried to assassinate the Kaiser Emperor, an archer known as Shuren. Disgusted by the death of the demon woman he loved, Shuren wanted revenge against the Empire for its ruthless discrimination against demons and escapes, leaving Zakia to re-evaluate his loyalty to the Empire. Arhel receives a visit from Barnabas, a legendary wizard who served as mentor to Ranz, and he informs him about the students who recently transferred to his school, Barbador Magical Academy, causing Seiichi to realize that those new students are his classmates from Japan. Suddenly, a soldier informs Ranz that an army of monsters have begun an attack on Tilbert. Louise and her Valkyries have linked up with an army led by the Black Paladin, Wimberg's finest soldier, to fight monsters at the borders, leaving them unable to assist in the defense of Tilbert. Wimberg's remaining soldiers and the local adventurers guild join forces to defend Tilbert, and succeed in holding the line against the first wave of monsters. But unfortunately, reinforcements for the army arrive, leaving the defenders with no means of escape. Seiichi creates an offensive spell called Judgment that obliterates the enemy army, while leaving the defenders of Tilbert unharmed. Impressed by his talent, Barnabas congratulates him for saving the city and offers a teaching position at Barbador, to which Seiichi accepts on the condition of waiting until Louise and her Valkyries return to Tilbert to ensure Ranz's safety. Once Louise returns, Seiichi and his friends depart for Barbador, but promise to return, while Kreis is disappointed to learn that the monster army failed to destroy Tilbert. This failure earns him the anger of the Demon Lord, who is hoping to use the negative emotions unleashed by the destruction of the city to resurrect himself. However, he only considers his failure to be a temporary setback and swears to find another way to regain his power. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, then consider subscribing and liking it, and don't forget to check out my merch store and Ko-Fi page. Your support will be much appreciated.